welcome back to the South Baltimore Now podcast. I'm Nate Carper, and today we're excited to welcome a special guest host to the show who embodies the spirit of Baltimore in every word she writes and every story she tells. I'd like to introduce you all to Jennifer Walker. Jennifer is not only a seasoned freelance writer and a captivating podcast host, also a fellow parent here on the peninsula. She's a Baltimore native, and we are so excited to have her join as a contributor here on southbaltimore.com. So Jen, welcome to the show.
Hi, Nate. Thanks for having me on and for that really nice introduction.
Kevin and I really appreciate you coming on and helping us out with some episodes here and there and just offering a unique perspective. As much as I know our audience loves to hear from two dads with our terrible dad jokes and whatnot, I think having you on is going to be awesome to shed some light on some different stories. So welcome to the show. And just curious, Jen, just to get to know you a little better, how long have you lived here in South Baltimore?
Oh, let's see. About 12 years probably in South Baltimore. I'm from Baltimore originally, and I moved around a little bit after college. I was in Boston and I was in New York and came back about 15 years ago, lived in Mount Vernon for a few years, and I've been in South Baltimore ever since I was pregnant with our first child. So who's going to be 12 in June.
Wow, time flies.
Sure does.
Awesome. So you've been around and you came back home. I love it. And settled back here in South Baltimore. So I'm curious, what do you and your family like to do around here? What's some fun stuff you like to do and take advantage of some of the wonderful peninsula life that we have here?
Oh, yeah. When my kids were young, we definitely took advantage of all of the museums, like multiple times a week. The aquarium, the science center, the Port Discovery. We did all of it. We were at the zoo yesterday. So definitely all of the educational things for kids. Now, as they're getting older, I feel like doing more park things, like going down to Latrobe and hanging out at Banner Field, and we're playing basketball and soccer and being on playgrounds and things like that. Yeah, and we like the restaurants. We do more carry out than eat in, but we like to support the local places. There are so many new places that I haven't tried and don't even know about. Yeah, you're always
discovering new things, and that's why we here at southbaltimore.com try to make sure we get the word out on all those new places. And Jen, I mentioned in your intro that you are a freelance writer and also a podcast host yourself. And I'm curious if you'd like to talk a little bit about your business and your podcast.
Sure. So I'm more of a content writer. I write for businesses, universities, associations. I write about PAs a lot, physician assistants or physician associates, and not so much about the science of what they're doing, but just about them as people. And I write for universities. And let's see, my podcast was about highlighting small business owners. It was called We Built This Life. It's still out there. You can still listen, but I officially ended it this year when I hit 35 episodes. But the whole point of it was just to bring attention to small business owners and what they're doing. I really feel like if you can hear the person talk about their work and hear the passion behind what they're saying, it makes you want to support them more. So I wanted to give them that visibility. And I started out interviewing people that I knew about online, people I followed on Instagram or whatever. And then I switched to having this Baltimore focus, talking to small business owners in the city and really trying to shed some light on what we have here, like all around us.
I encourage everybody to go check out We Built This Life. And actually, people can find you on your website, right? JenniferLWalker.com.
Yep, that's where I have some of my old writing links. And this is a great reminder to update that, which I'll put on my schedule to do soon. And then my website for the podcast is WeBuiltThisLife.com.
Myself as a freelancer, as an independent audio video producer, it inspired me as well because of hearing people's origin stories, how they built their business. It's just really cool to hear and inspiring for sure. So on today's episode, Jen, you're going to be interviewing Jean from Jean's Greens. Can you tell us a little bit about this interview and why you wanted to highlight Jean?
Sure. I first learned about Jean from the signs that are around our neighborhood. Like if you've been by Federal Hill Park, I think even down by Latrobe, there's signs for Jean's Greens. And he has a CSA, but the model's a little bit different. So normally you buy into a CSA, you pay at the beginning of the year, and then you get vegetables for 5 months and you pick them up at a certain location. With Jean, he sends out a list every week of the produce he has, and you can pick and you can get it delivered that week. So you can really do it on a weekly basis. He does have subscriptions, but the weekly basis is nice, especially in the summer if you're traveling or whatever. So I really like that model. I used to work on a farm myself. My uncle had a farm, and I say it on the episode, I would wash vegetables and pick things, and it was a very small part of what goes into a farm. So I was interested in hearing from his perspective.
We really appreciate you doing what you do here.
Thanks so much for the opportunity, Nate, and thanks to everybody for listening.
Awesome. And now, thank you all for tuning in. Here's to the show, Jean from Jean's Greens.
Welcome to Jean Edwards from Jean's Greens. It's a farm in Westminster, Maryland that has a home delivery CSA model, which is interesting, a little bit different. And Jean also participated in the Winter's Farmers Market at Silo Point in South Baltimore. And you might recognize his name if you've been walking around the community and seen his signs all around. That's how I found out about Gene's Greens. And so I'm excited to hear his story today and for you to hear it too. Welcome, Gene.
Hi.
Hi. So first, I'd love to start at the beginning. Can you talk a little bit about how you first got into farming? Is it something that you grew up with or an interest that you developed later in life?
Yeah, I grew up with gardening my whole life. I'm from Catonsville. We had a house right by UMBC with a little yard, and I was always in the garden, experimenting with plants and bugs and all kinds of stuff like that. So I was familiar with gardening my whole life. And what I do now is just that scaled way up.
What kind of plants did you have in the garden when you were younger?
We had green beans and squash that would just come out of nowhere. We didn't even have to plant them. We did a little bit of carrots and always liked Chinese lanterns, and dill was a good one because it's a host plant for the black swallowtail butterfly. So I used to take the little caterpillars and raise them into butterflies on the dill. And that was really fun.
So you would just feed the dill to the caterpillars and then they go through their life cycle and
Just throw some seeds down and they would grow. They would come and put them in a little cage, feed them. Yeah, and they'd go through the whole process.
So you grew up with this garden. When did you think that you might want to do this? You might want this farming was going to be your business?
Probably about 7 or 8 years ago is when we started. I worked for a farm 3 years prior to that and moved to the farm. And they gave me a garden spot. And I decided that I need to make more money. It's that simple. And using my skills, I used the garden to have a small CSA. It was 10 to 15 people. And it blew up with the deliveries. And during the pandemic, that hit. And there was all of a sudden this huge need for deliveries. So that really kicked things off.
Yeah. So when you started, where you were on a much smaller scale, I guess, just a few vegetables or plants, and then what'd you start with?
Very small. Just everything, pretty much. Carrots and beets and beans. They had all of your greens and squash, cucumbers.
How'd you get your first customers, your first CSA customers?
First CSA customers were my friends.
I wondered, yeah. And then what they told people, was it word of mouth, or did you have to do a lot of advertising and marketing?
No marketing whatsoever. We had a flyer that was passed out to see what would happen. And up until recently, it was all word of mouth until maybe 2 years ago. Yeah, when we moved to the new spot here in Westminster, it really had to get some marketing going.
Why is that? Is it a bigger space in Westminster?
It is, well, the first garden was on another farm, and I worked for that farm and did the garden, and it was just time to move on and do my own thing. And so now out here in Westminster, we have our own farm.
Can you take us through a little bit what the farm looks like? How big is it? And what you have a lot. You have seeds that you're giving out to people and flowers. And,
Oh, yeah.
So what are you doing today?
What am I doing today? That's a lot of seedling work today. Yeah, I sprout the seeds inside where it's warm. And all these little seedlings need to go into individual little holes in seedling flats. I've been doing that for months. Yeah, that's a lot of work.
So what is a typical day like? Because I used to work on a farm as a kid, just picking vegetables and washing them. That's it. A very small part of the process. And it was tiring. It was really tiring. So take us through whatever makes sense. What does a typical week look like for you? What does a year look like for you?
Every day, there's no schedule. The schedule is what the weather is pretty much, except for the deliveries. Every day is different. Week by week, we have planting, we have staking up plants, we have harvesting. And I have to do the marketing and setting out the list of produce options and taking people's orders and delivering.
Is it just you?
It's mostly just me. I had somebody making some deliveries, thankfully, because it's been growing this spring a lot. I have some help with the seedlings so far and some things around the farm, but it's pretty much just me.
What is on your farm today? Take us through some of the things you're growing today.
We're big on flowers now. I planted a bunch of annuals. They're called hardy annuals. They can survive the winter covered up with frost netting. But I planted those in October and September, and now they're ready to bloom. So we have a bunch of flowers, daffodils, tulips. But as far as veggies go, we have carrots coming, all the greens, kale, Swiss chard, Chinese cabbage, kohlrabi, all leafy greens. And I'll be planting turnips, beets, and potatoes, hopefully this weekend.
They were fall crops mainly, right? Do they start to come in the colder months, or do you get them sooner?
About the beginning of summer. It all depends. All the green stuff it'll be ready in a month.
Yeah. And I feel like flowers as part of a CSA is a big thing now. Do you find that your customers really like that people are ordering a lot of flowers every week?
Yeah, people love the flowers. I wish they loved them more, but there's flowers. There's flowers everywhere. So I want to get big into flowers because honestly, at this point, growing veggies is boring. It's only 5 different species of plant, and flowers, I have 100 different species of plant. And that's really what I'm interested in.
So what's boring about it's the same thing as far as planting and like taking care of it. There's only 5 different things that you're doing.
It's 5 different species. It's like the brassica species is broccoli, cauliflower, kale, all the leafy stuff, Brussels sprouts. That's all one thing. And so you have the cucurbit species, which is the squash, cucumbers, pumpkins, all that. That's all one thing, pretty much. Crops, tomatoes, peppers, eggplant, all the same thing. Your alliums, your onions, not much else, beans, corn. It's only a few different things. Flowers is a lot to learn. It's a whole lot. It's deep. Everything's different, and there's hundreds of different kinds. And we're doing a lot of wildflowers this year, too, which is helpful to the environment. Actually, today we're transferring little milkweed sprouts into larger flats, and we give away free milkweed to all of our CSA members.
Oh, that's great. How do you use milkweed?
Milkweed is the host plant for the monarch butterfly, and those numbers are dwindling drastically. So they need any help they can get. So you plant the milkweed, they lay the eggs, caterpillars, make more monarchs. And part of the reason they're on the decline is because of practices and houses being built, and they're just losing all their habitat. So I'm trying to increase their habitat.
So there's an environmental kind of spin to it.
Yes.
Got it. Okay. All right. Great. So I know you deliver to South Baltimore. Are you delivering in other areas, or are you focused in the South Baltimore area?
South Baltimore's like a third of my business. I'm in Westminster, so I have a few deliveries here in Westminster, and then I head down 795 corridor, Reisterstown, Owings Mills, and end up in Towson. And then I make my way down the middle of the city, Remington, Hamden, going through Mount Vernon, and then make my way to South Baltimore. Another third is probably Catonsville and Arbutus, which is right there. I'm from Catonsville, so that's where it kind of started out. One in Columbia, and then we go up 32, Sykesville, make my way back up to Westminster, back to the farm.
So tell us how the home delivery model works. Like, I know you send out some information, I think on a Tuesday, where people can choose some items, and then the deliveries come later in the week.
Yes. So I send out a list of options every Tuesday morning, and it's through email. So just email me back with your choices, and I gather all the stuff. Right now, it's mostly from different farms. I go to distributor for some things. I have some storage, but it's pretty much depleted at this point. I gather everything, pack everything up, and deliver Wednesday or Thursday.
So how many customers do you have these days?
This week, we had 89 deliveries.
And some people order every week, and some people are regulars.
I give a small discount for signing up for the whole season. So it's 13 weeks. I do the season at the actual start of the spring season to the summer season. But there's a small discount for that. I have about almost 50 signed up for the whole season. But I can't imagine it going so well. The goal was 80, and the season is barely even started yet.
That's great. So only up from here probably, right?
Yes. If it's up too much, I'll be in trouble. I'll figure it out.
You have to look for some help.
Yeah. Some more help, and I'll figure it out. What I do every day. Figure it out.
With the regular CSA model, you have people like buying into it for the season. So if you have something happens with the weather and the crops don't grow as you expect them to or whatever, it's like people are buying into that, and you know that you still are going to get paid for your work. Even if with the weather, you can't control that, right? So it's like setting you up financially a little bit at the beginning of the season. Whereas if you have a home delivery model, maybe you don't see that benefit as much. Is that a challenge?
The benefit is that I get to pick out the produce. Say if you want to go to a CSA pickup location and you have a box of lettuce, they choose the lettuce from, everybody's going to leave the small lettuces and take the big heads, right? But I can take the small heads and pack them up 2 at a time maybe and just distribute it that way. And that goes for a lot of other things. And I just grow a lot of stuff. And we also have a donation program where if you sign up for the whole season and you need to skip a week, we'll send 2 boxes of food to either Catonsville Emergency Assistance Food Bank or Church of the Redemption in South Baltimore, Locust Point. And that way, nothing gets wasted. And so I could just grow a bunch of extra. And if I need to harvest it now and send it somewhere, I still get paid a little bit extra to do that.
That's a good point. That's a good point too about you get to control a little bit which vegetable, make sure all the vegetables are getting used and going out. Whereas maybe with the other model, you lose some of that control. I hadn't thought about that. The farmer's market in Silo Point, that was a winter farmer's market. Do you have a market in the South Baltimore area for the spring, summer season?
Yes, I move outside of Silo Point, right on East Clement Street. It's right behind Eat, the place with egg rolls.
I haven't been there yet, but I've heard good things.
Me neither, but it smells good. That's right behind there. It's a shady spot with trees and in the middle of the neighborhood there where Silo Point is. So that's every other weekend.
Are you the only person there? I haven't been down to that market.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm the only person there. Pretty much bring a little bit of everything. It's not huge, but it's very convenient, especially for people in the neighborhood. There's no lines. I hardly ever run out of anything. And I have pretty much a piece of everything. All produce, flowers, jar goods.
How did you decide to set up your market in South Baltimore?
I actually had a friend that lived in Silo Point, and she got together with the events coordinator there and decided, hey, I have a friend that's a farmer, and we could really use a market here. I think people would really enjoy that, and they absolutely do.
It's good to have connections.
Yes.
Definitely. My last question is that with Earth Day coming up on April 22nd, I was hoping you could talk a little bit about anything that you wish that people knew about being a farmer, supporting local farms, putting your investment into the community in that way.
So one of our main goals is to improve nature rather than take from it. So we plant a lot of wildflowers, try to increase biodiversity instead of having a tractor go through and till up the soil and create havoc. We do pretty much everything by hand here. It's just better for the soil and better for the environment.
I actually do have one more question. Could you talk about like what you find are your biggest successes, the things you're most proud of in relation to Jean's Greens, and what have been your biggest challenges and how you've addressed them?
I think the biggest successes are just using all of my knowledge to create this thing that is doing very well. I have a degree in environmental science from Towson and master naturalist, master gardener training, and spent many winters researching and just seeing what to do as far as farming goes, and it's working out, and that's a huge thing for me. Issues, there's tons of issues, but nothing real huge.
As there always is, yes.
I think the biggest one is trying to find the balance. Everybody always talks about the balance of work and leisure. Like, you have to have both. But doing this, I call it people have their 9 to 5. I call this my 5 to 9. And sometimes that's hard.
So it does take up your whole day into your evenings, early mornings.
Oh, yeah. Especially this time of year. Winter, not so much. You get a good break. But of course, dark and cold and wet. Can't really do much. So
that's true.
Hard. That's why I have the market every other weekend. I could not stand to do that every weekend. I have to get out, do some hiking, do some other stuff, travel a little bit.
Of course. Yeah, you need the balance. What goes into preparing for the market?
I harvest the day before and usually go get apples from Balger's Orchard in Westminster. I go get corn from Hampstead. So everything's super fresh. Make bouquets, just whatever I can find and that I think I could sell. I just get it and put it on the van and haul everything down there.
Yeah. I imagine it takes some time for the setup, and then you have to take everything down. And so is it a pretty long day? Yeah.
As a 3-hour market, it probably takes 10, 11 hours total at this market to have a 3-hour market.
It puts it in perspective for sure. All right, Jean, we've talked a little bit about where everybody can find you. You'll be at the Silo Point Farmers Market outside every other week in South Baltimore. People can order on Tuesdays for home delivery on Thursdays. Where can people find you online?
You can sign up to automatically receive the list on Tuesday at jeansgreensfarm.com. That's GENESGRENS farm.com. And you could just jump in anytime. I also have a whole list of plants that is going to be released this weekend. Tomatoes, peppers, eggplant, a bunch of flowers, herbs. So people might be really interested in that. A lot of heirloom varieties.
Spring, summer stuff that's starting to come out.
Yes.
Thanks for your time today, Jean. Is there anything else you want to tell us before you sign off?
I think I said it before, but free milkweed help out the monarch butterfly. Yeah.
That's a great deal. For anyone in South Baltimore who has a yard, I love that idea.
In the woods by your house. I don't know. But
in a park.
Yeah, put in some bushes, under some bushes, see what happens.
All right. Thanks for your time today, Gene. I really appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.